Hey everybody, welcome back from spring break. I hope you are excited to restart our read alouds. Let's get started. We're on chapter 13. Chapter 13 is called You Have the Right to Remain Silent. So, tell me how your first day was. Miss Murphy sits at the kitchen counter and seems like she has nothing to do but listen to my answer. She's so odd, but it is nice. I remember how my mother never stopped talking long enough to listen to me. How I figured out that silent and listen are made of the same letters. Nothing too eventful. Social studies teacher is, unique to say the least. How about the kids? Did you meet anyone? Well, I learned a valuable lesson about karma. How do you mean? She asks, leaning forward slightly. I can't tell her about Rainer. She would probably shatter. Nothing, just kidding. Well, I have no doubt you'll make friends before you know it. You know, there's only one letter difference between friends and fiends, and then I look up to see that she has a dopey smile. I mean, she's nice and everything, but give me a break. The doorbell rings. I'll get it, I say. Wow, actually saved by the bell. I swing the front door open and find a police officer. Miss Murphy comes from the kitchen. She stops suddenly when she sees him and holds her breath. The officer looks past me at her. Hello, ma'am, are you Julie Murphy? Miss Murphy puts her hands to her mouth. Oh, God, is this about my husband? Ma'am? My husband, Jack Murphy. He's a Glastonbury firefighter. Is he hurt? The officer holds his hand up like he's directing traffic and shakes his head. No, ma'am, I'm sure he's fine. He softens a bit. I'm actually here about a foster care child you have, a Carly Connors. Miss Murphy's shoulders droop as she looks over at me. The officer's name tag shows that his name has 13 letters. How unlucky for him. I heard the clamor of 4 feet running in our direction. Adam says, I'm telling you, I saw a police officer in the driveway. Oh, wicked cool, Adam says when he sees the officer. Hey there, little man. Michael Eric steps up. Do you shoot people a lot? Of course he shoots people, dummy, answers Adam. Why else would he have a gun? Miss Murphy puts her hand on Adam's shoulder. I'm so sorry, officer. Michael Eric speaks again. My daddy says policemen are brave. Well, you thank your daddy for me. My daddy's a firefighter, Adam says. The boys stand taller. He must be, the officer nods. Miss Murphy holds up her pointer finger. Would you wait just a minute? I'm going to go get them busy. She disappears with the boys. I look at the officer and decide to say nothing. I must be in trouble. She returns quickly. Nothing like television and lollipops in a pinch. Yes, ma'am. Coming in to spray? You're fine. No problem at all. The kids will like this in the video. This guy's just spraying for bugs, I'm pretty sure. She returns quickly. Nothing like television and lollipops in a pinch. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, officer. Now, what can we do for you? Would it be all right if I asked Carly a few questions? She steps back and waves him into the living room. Waves in someone who probably wants to drag me away in handcuffs. Nice. I fold my arms. I know my rights. I don't have to answer anything. I've heard people say that on television a million times. Half the battle in these things is letting them know you're not afraid. Look, miss, you're not in any trouble. He flips through the pages of his pad. I am investigating an incident involving a Dennis Gray. I freeze. I remember telling my mother his name spelled backwards was Sind, and she laughed at me. Back when she first brought him home and I had a sick feeling about him, he leans forward slightly. You know him? I nod as my insides fold over and over. He's your stepfather, correct? Unfortunately. Okay, his feet move further apart, so I guess you don't like him much. No, not much. Well, there are some things we need to clear up about the night you ended up in the hospital. Do you remember that night? Not really. I only remember the beginning. Besides, I don't believe I'm in no trouble at all. Now, Mr. Gray is under arrest for 2 counts of assault and battery, resisting arrest, and assaulting a police officer, among other things. He had quite a night for himself. I feel like I'm going to throw up. The prosecutor was looking at 2 counts of attempted murder, but it's hard to prove intent to kill without hard evidence. He was trying to kill me? And my mother, too? We've been questioning him along this line, but Mr. Gray claims that your mother, well, that she helped him in the beating. So the prosecutor is considering charging your mother as well. I look at Miss Murphy and I stand straight. I say, you don't have to stay if you don't want to. She sits down and leans forward with her elbows on her knees. She bites the inside of her cheek, and I can see she's trying hard not to cry. His report of the incident is that she held you down while he kicked your abdomen, chest, and back. I remember how she did that. I've been trying to tell myself that I must have remembered it wrong, but here he is to tell me that my mind wasn't fooling me. I didn't think anything could hurt more than that beating. I was wrong. I don't want Miss Murphy to hear anything else, so I say again, you don't have to stay. She clears her throat and brushes her cheek with the back of her hand. No, it's okay. I want to be here for you. I don't need you to be here. It's okay. She takes a deep breath and stands. I look away. Carly, she says my name like it's a command. There isn't anything that he can say that is going to change how I feel about you. I think two things. One, I want to die, and two, how does she feel about me? She leaves and I miss her. So, Carly, the officer says, is there any truth to that? Did your mother contribute in any way to your situation that night? Situation? Good word. What did my mother say? Your mother is heavily sedated. She will remain so for quite some time. Great. So I have to decide. If I tell, will my mother end up in prison? She'd never forgive me for that. Would the Murphys keep me, or would I bounce around foster care like the kids in those TV movies? I don't seem to have a choice. I can't believe that you would believe a jerk like Dennis about anything. My mother would... The rest of the sentence sticks in my throat. My mother would never hurt me. I force myself to look at him. He nods slightly. And you're sure that you're telling me the truth? Why would I lie? Well, frankly, I don't believe you. I need to know what happened that night, Carly, and from where I stand, you're the only one who can straighten things out. We can either talk about this out here, or we can take a ride to the station. I open my mouth, but no sound comes out. He steps toward me, and I look up. You said I wasn't in any trouble. You won't be if you don't impede my investigation. We'll get more resolved at the station away from distractions. Why don't you get your coat? I try to breathe through my nose and think of what to do. I can usually think my way out of anything, but it seems like a tall wall to climb. I know I can't turn my mother in. Now, Miss Connors, if you'd like to pull yourself together, I am together, jerk. And answer a few questions right here, we won't have to go, but I do need answers. I nod, like I have a choice. Good. He flips open his pad. Okay, then. The only people in the home at the time were you, your mother, and Mr. Gray, correct? I nod. Mr. Gray was in the kitchen and you and your mother were in the dining room? I nod. You and your mother had some sort of an argument? Some sort. He glares at me. Just answer the questions. He writes something in his pad. What sort of argument did you have? She tripped and she blamed me. I see. He gives me a long, hard stare. How did the violence begin? What was it that you did to get Mr. Gray so upset? I feel like I've been sucker punched. It was me that made Dennis mad, the biggest mistake ever. I count the crisscrosses on the thin black shoelaces. 1, 2, 3. I can't hear what he says exactly, but I hear something about my coat and taking a ride. Carly? His tone makes me jump. Huh? You must have said something or done something to get him going. Just then, Miss Murphy slides in between the cop and me. She reaches back with her right hand and takes mine. She gives it a firm squeeze. I move closer to her. Miss Murphy's tone is quiet, but boy does she sound mad. How dare you come in here and insinuate that she had anything to do with what that monster did? It wouldn't matter what she did. He was the adult, and he should be held accountable for his own actions. I, for one, hope he rots in jail. I move even closer to her. And you think you're an officer? You would think an officer of the law would have a drop of sense or compassion? What do you hope to accomplish by badgering her? She's a child and a victim, and you're treating her like a criminal. And furthermore, since she isn't a suspect, I know that you can't take her anywhere. She's staying right here, with me. I step forward again, and the front of me almost touches her back. His left eye squints as he stares Miss Murphy down. Listen, ma'am, if you impede my investigation. You listen, she interrupts. You're not dealing with a child anymore. He slips his notebook into his pocket but doesn't break eye contact with Miss Murphy. Finally, he looks away first. A little thing like her stares down a guy like that. I'll let myself out then, he says. You do that, she says. We watch him open the door and leave. She takes a deep breath and turns toward me, still holding my hand. You okay, Carly? I try to pull my hand away, but she won't let go. Carly, tell me if you're okay. The way she stuck up for me and how she looks at me slips inside. I want to thank her. I want to ask her if my mother really held me down for that whack job. I want to ask her why she cares. I want to ask her if everything's going to be okay because part of me whispers that she has the answer. It's okay, she says, as if reading my mind. You know he was wrong, right? She continues. It wasn't your fault. Not any of it. I nod on the outside. Oh, that must have been so painful for you to hear, Carly. I shrug. No, it's not a big deal. She half smiles. Well, I guess some people would believe that line if you fed it to them. A tiny jolt in my stomach rattles me. I'm fine. Are you sure? I said I'm fine. I force a smile. Yeah, I know, she sighs. You're always fine. And with that, I peel my hand away and I'm gone. I walk into the fireman room. The bed is made perfectly with little fire truck pillows. In my mind, I can see her fixing it just right, the way she lines up all the corners and makes sure the bed is straight and neat. I want to curl up on it, but it seems like a world I can never fit into. I walk around the other side of the bed and lie on the floor. I bring my knees to my chest and hug them. I know I will keep thinking about the horrible visit from the policeman just so I can think about how Miss Murphy stepped in and took my hand and wouldn't let go. All right. Be sure to tune in to today's Flipgrid discussion. Have a great day, guys.